Yeah, my name is Shobhana Xavier, and I am a religious studies scholar. And I work mainly on Islam, but generally all different religions. I think I would define my goal is to understand the lived practices. So I don't study text, I study what happens in real life. And so since I'm an ethnographer, I go to sacred spaces or I talk to people and I ask them how they do, why they do what they do, and then I try to understand it. So yeah, I would say my method is to be an ethnographer. So I collect data. But I'm trying to understand very simply what Sufism is. A lot of different people have different definitions of Sufism. And so instead of not trying to understand it from a place of the text or what some religious scholars only say, I'd like to go to places, spaces, and see Sufism in action and then try to understand it. So I would say my intellectual goal is really to understand people and why they have certain beliefs, why they do what they do, and how they make sense of the world around them. It seems like there's quite a few people this term that work on Sufism. I think there's 4 or 5, which is really lovely. Cassie's really focused on Western esotericism, and I think Sufism is a thread in that. It ends up being one of the ways in which people come to understand spirituality, themselves, or maybe even questions of the heart and soul. They want to experience the divine. Sufism, coming from an Islamic tradition, has long influenced Western esotericism. And so this relationship between Sufism, Islam, and Western esotericism, I think it's what has attracted a lot of people to Cassie. There are overlaps or there are points of entry, but perhaps it's not always so clean and stable. And so we're kind of trying to figure out this relationship. And I think Sufism is one point of entry. There's other people who work on Chinese religion or Hinduism, or even more new religious movements like OTO and all these other things that are maybe focused on satanic cult worship and things like that, right? So there's such a range of esoteric traditions, and I think Sufism has a small part in that. Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I'm personally working on a book project at the moment. It's always helpful to be surrounded by other people who are working on projects so you could be inspired. Sometimes it's okay to have people who are working on very similar things like Sufism, but sometimes it's also helpful to have people who are working on very different things because you have the same questions, but your specific topic may be different. And it's always nice to be in a group of scholars who have a goal, like to hear people give talks or to have tea time together. I believe generally that scholarship doesn't develop by yourself in a room. I believe that it develops from conversation and communication and in scholarly community. And so I think part of the reason that some place like Cassie is appealing to me is that I'm in a scholarly community and I'm with other people who are intellectually curious. And so I could be intellectually curious with them. And we may not always agree on stuff, but you just also want to just talk, right? It's like sometimes just reading stuff gets boring and you just want to talk to people. And it could be over drinks or coffee or after a lecture or on a bike ride. I think that kind of stimulation for me personally has been really important in my scholarship.